An Enemy of the People by Henrik Ibsen. Explanation. It is evening in a small Norwegian town. Mrs. Stockman is hosting Mr. Billing and Mr. Hofstad, two reporters from the town's liberal newspaper. Dr. Stockman has taken his two young sons, Morten and Leaf, out for a walk. Peter Stockman, the mayor of the town, and Dr. Stockman's brother arrives unexpectedly at the house. He speaks gladly about the recent economic boom of the town since they opened the baths, a health resort for the taking of waters. Peter is the chairman of the board of the baths, and Dr. Stockman is the medical officer. Dr. Stockman burns in, and his generous energy fills the room. He's somewhat restless, however, in anticipation of a letter he is expecting at any moment. The letter arrives after the mayor leaves. It contains the results of laboratory tests of water samples Stockman has taken from the town baths. He has long suspected that the spa waters are infested with bacteria that could prove fatal to the tourists who flock there, and his letter confirms it. The pollution comes from the runoff from a tannery further up the mountain. Stockman is eager to reveal the truth, excited that he has discovered the danger before anyone can be hurt. He believes that the town will be grateful to him for his discovery, and the newspapermen instantly back him and prepare to publish his findings. A servant is sent to the mayor with Dr. Stockman's report. The next day, Peter visits Dr. Stockman having read his report. The stiff, humorous, and officious Peter declares his skepticism about Stockman's findings. He points out that the expense of fixing the baths would have to be shouldered by the townspeople. Peter demands that Stockman publicly refute his findings, and Stockman refuses. The two brothers almost come to blows, but are interrupted by Petra and Mrs. Stockman. Petra champions her father's cause, but Mrs. Stockman is more cautious, considering the effects on their family and income. In the publishing office, Peter arrives and tells Hofstad that the money to repair the baths will have to come from the taxpayers. Seeing the impact this would have on their readership, the editors back off and decide not to publish the report. Just then they see Dr. Stockman bursting through the door, so Peter hastily hides in the next room. Dr. Stockman has come to check on the printing of his article, and his wife shows up unexpectedly, begging him not to print it. Stockman finds Peter in the next room and confronts him. The two editors then reveal to Stockman that they are backing down and have decided not to publish the article because they believe it to be false. In shock and disbelief, Stockman declares that he will read the report out at a public meeting. Mrs. Stockman, seeing her husband backed against a wall, declares that she is behind his cause for truth. A public meeting is to take place in a room in Captain Holster's house. The room is packed with a hostile crowd. A negative report about Stockman has been published in Hofstad's newspaper. Stockman attempts to speak about his findings, but the crowd prevents him. Faced with a mob, he speaks in outrage about the pollution of society and declares that the majority can never be in the right. The people vote unanimously to brand Stockman an enemy of the people, forgetting the baths shutdown and thus jeopardizing the economic future of the town. As the townspeople plan to vandalize his house, Stockman leaves the meeting intending to depart for America with his family on Captain Hollister's ship. The next morning, the windows of the Stockman house have been shattered by locks. They have been evicted from their house. Petra has lost her teaching job. The two boys have been thrown out of school, and Captain Hollister has been fired for attempting to help them. Peter arrives and tells Stockman that he has been relieved of his position as medical officer to the Buffs. Peter accuses Stockman of inventing the story about the Buffs to please his wealthy father-in-law, Malton Keel, who hates the town's leaders so that Keel will leave all his money to the Stockmans. No sooner has Peter gone than Malton Keel arrives to tell Stockman that he has bought all the shares in the Buffs with the money he was going to leave the Stockmans. If Stockman does not renounce his findings, the Buffs will close, the shares will be worthless, and the family will get no money. To make matters worse, Hofstad and Aslaksen alive, insinuating that Stockman and Kid have been planning all along to defraud the town, and they now want to blackmail Stockman. Stockman resolves to remain where he is and not leave the field of battle. Captain Hollister offers his house to the family, and Stockman decides to open a school for the homeless children of the town to teach them to be free thinkers. Petra will be his assistant, thus regaining her career as a teacher, and his two sons will be among his pupils as he talks. Through his plans, he gathers his family about him.